Long before clocks existed, time was written in light and shadow. Ancient civilizations around the world mastered this silent language, using the sun's path to build their societies. This journey into the hidden timekeepers will reveal how our ancestors transformed simple shadows into complex calendars that guided everything from harvests to holy days. You will discover the ingenious methods used to track celestial cycles, uncovering a lost science carved into stone. We will explore why a massive stone in England only casts one specific shadow once a year, and how a temple doorway in Malta captures a single beam of light. What forgotten story does a shadow tell you? This silent dance of light and shadow was humanity's first and most faithful clock. A simple stick planted upright in the earth becomes a hand on a dial painted by the sun itself. Each morning, the long, stretched-out shadow points west. As the hours pass, it shrinks, pivoting around the base of the stick. At the moment we call local noon, the sun reaches its absolute peak in the sky. The shadow is at its shortest, a definitive pointer to the north. Then the process reverses, the shadow stretching long again, now pointing east as the sun descends. This was not just a way to guess the hour, it was a profound realization. The chaotic, flowing river of time could be measured. It had patterns, rhythms that could be seen and understood by anyone. By carefully watching where the shortest shadow fell each day, an observer could mark true solar noon with perfect accuracy. This simple, repeatable observation was the foundational spark. It transformed time from a mysterious force into a tangible system, setting the stage for the incredible stone calendars that would soon reach for the sky. This simple stick in the ground evolved into humanity's first precision instrument in the hands of Mesopotamian priests. In the fertile land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, these early scholars did far more than just watch shadows move. They erected a vertical rod known as a gnomon, casting its sharp, dark line onto a flat, carefully marked surface. This was the birth of the sundial, a device that allowed them to carve the seemingly endless day into manageable, named hours. But for these priests, time was never just a practical matter. They watched the gnomon's shadow as if reading a divine script. Every shift in its length, every change in its daily path, was a whispered message from the gods. They became meticulous record keepers, noting how the longest shadow of the winter solstice differed from the shortest shadow of the summer solstice. They correlated these patterns with the flooding of the rivers, the arrival of rains, and the best times for planting and harvest. A strange shadow at an unexpected hour could be an omen of war or a sign of a king's fate. In this civilization, the science of measurement and the art of prophecy were one and the same. This profound connection between the heavens and the earth, written in light and dark, became the bedrock of their entire society, a legacy of obsessive observation that would echo for millennia. Across the sea, another civilization was building its own dialogue with the sun on a truly monumental scale. In ancient Egypt, the sun god Ra was not just a deity, he was the source of all life, and tracking his daily journey across the sky became a sacred, state-sponsored duty. To accomplish this, they built obelisks. These were not simple sticks or marked rods. They were colossal, four-sided pillars of solid stone, towering over temple complexes, their sides covered in hieroglyphs and their peaks sheathed in electrum, an alloy of gold and silver that caught the first and last rays of the sun. Each obelisk was a gnomon of unimaginable scale. Its sharp, pyramid-like tip cast a distinct, dark shadow that swept across the paved courtyards below. Priests could watch this shadow move, dividing the daylight into defined periods for rituals and administrative tasks with a precision that felt almost divine. But these stone giants did more than just tell the time of day. The true genius of the obelisks lay in their perfect alignment. Certain ones were positioned with such incredible accuracy that they became solar markers for the most important days of the year, the solstices. On the summer solstice, the shadow would fall in a specific, predictable pattern, marking the longest day. On the winter solstice, its path would be entirely different, signaling the shortest day and the imminent return of the sun's strength. This was not merely ceremonial. The entire Egyptian agricultural cycle, and thus the survival of the civilization, hinged on the annual flooding of the Nile River. The solstice markers provided the critical, predictable signal that the floodwaters were coming, allowing them to prepare their fields and their society. An obelisk, therefore, was far more than a simple clock. It was a symbol of the pharaoh's divine power, a conduit for Ra's blessing, and a promise of eternal life, physically connecting the earth to the heavens. The sheer architectural mastery required to quarry, transport, and erect these multi-ton stone needles demonstrates a profound, working understanding of solar geometry that still inspires awe today. While the priests of Egypt built upward with towering obelisks, another culture was thinking in circles. Across the windswept plains of Europe, ancient societies were arranging colossal stones into rings that served as both calendar and cathedral. The most famous of these, Stonehenge, is far more than a mysterious ruin. It is a sophisticated astronomical observatory built from stone. Its massive pillars were not placed at random. They were positioned with breathtaking precision to capture the light of the sun on the most important days of the year. On the morning of the summer solstice, if you stand in the center of the circle and look toward the outlying heel stone, you will witness a perfect alignment. The sun crests the horizon directly over that single, waiting stone, and its first golden rays shoot through the heart of the monument. On the winter solstice, the same careful geometry captures the sunset, a final, defiant beam of light marking the turn toward longer days. The shadows cast by these stones were not mere byproducts. They were the active, moving hands of a giant clock. As the sun moved, the long, dark shapes of the megaliths would sweep across the landscape, their positions and lengths telling a story of the seasons. A specific alignment of shadow and stone might signal the time to plant seeds. Another might mark a holy day for ceremony and celebration. This was a calendar carved into the earth itself, one that synchronized human life with the cosmic dance above. The sheer effort involved is almost unimaginable. These stones, some weighing more than 25 tons, were quarried, transported over immense distances, and raised by a people without metal tools or the wheel. This was a project that demanded the shared knowledge and labor of generations. It speaks of a deep, communal desire to find order in the universe, to build a permanent, silent witness to the cycles of time. These stone circles are a testament to a prehistoric understanding of celestial mechanics, a legacy in rock that still captures the light just as it did thousands of years ago. Yet this obsession with celestial cycles was not confined to the Old World. Deep within the steamy jungles of the Americas, the Maya civilization was achieving a level of astronomical precision that would stagger the modern mind. For the Maya, time was not a straight line marching into the future. It was a great turning wheel of cosmic cycles, and their entire society was built to keep in perfect sync with its revolutions. To do this, they engineered their temples to become machines of light and shadow. They built special complexes now called E-groups. Picture a wide ceremonial plaza. On its western side stands a single, dominant pyramid. Directly across from it, to the east, are three smaller temples arranged in a line. This was not a random layout. It was a giant stone calendar. On the spring equinox, the sun would rise directly behind the central temple, its light splitting the sky. On the summer solstice, it would crest the horizon behind the northernmost structure. On the winter solstice, it would appear over the southern one. Each sunrise painted a unique pattern of light and shadow across the plaza, a silent, spectacular announcement of the changing season. But the Maya went even further. In some of their cities, they constructed something known as a zenith tube. This was a vertical shaft built straight down through the heart of a temple. For most of the year, the shaft remained dark, but on the 2 days each year when the sun passed directly overhead at noon, a miraculous event occurred. A single, brilliant beam of sunlight would plunge down the shaft, illuminating a special marker or symbol at the very bottom. This was the moment the sun stood at its zenith, with no shadows cast at all. This precise observation was critical because it allowed the Maya to correct their incredibly complex long-count calendar, a system that tracked vast cycles of time spanning thousands of years. A tiny error accumulating over centuries could throw their entire cosmic schedule out of alignment. The zenith tube provided the absolute, unfailing check they needed. Their architecture was more than just buildings. It was a physical representation of their universe, a way to literally build their cyclical concept of time into the very stone they walked upon. This relentless pursuit of cosmic harmony found equally brilliant expression on the other side of the world, in ancient China. There, court astronomers elevated the simple gnomon into an instrument of state power and scientific discovery. Their goal was not merely to track the hours of a single day, but to capture the entire rhythm of the solar year itself. They achieved this through a breathtakingly simple, yet profoundly patient method. They erected a standard, precisely measured gnomon, and then, day after day, year after year, they recorded the exact length of its shadow at the moment of true solar noon. The entire cycle of the seasons was written in the slow, breathing dance of that shadow line. At the height of summer, the shadow was at its absolute shortest, a clear marker of the summer solstice. In the depths of winter, it stretched to its maximum length, defining the winter solstice. The true breakthrough came from measuring the exact number of days between one summer solstice and the next. This interval, the tropical year, became the fundamental heartbeat of their civilization. Why was this measurement so crucial? The entire Chinese agricultural and ceremonial calendar, a complex lunisolar system that had to balance moon cycles with the solar year, depended on its precision. Knowing the exact length of the solar year allowed them to periodically insert leap months, keeping their calendar in perfect sync with the seasons. This ensured that farmers always knew the correct time to plant and harvest, and that imperial rituals were performed on the most astronomically auspicious days. For centuries, generations of court astronomers maintained these unbroken records, creating a legacy of data so accurate that it still informs our understanding of Earth's orbital variations today. Their work stands as a monument to a different kind of timekeeping, one built not on grand stone monuments, but on meticulous, patient observation, a quiet dedication to measuring the cosmos one shadow at a time. High in the thin air of the Andes Mountains, the Incas carved their own answer to the cosmic clock. They called it the Intihuatana, a name that holds a desperate, beautiful hope, the hitching post of the sun. This was no simple pillar or marked plaza. It was a single, massive block of granite sculpted into a complex, multi-angled form, a prayer made solid in stone. Every curve, every sharp edge, and every precise angle was cut with a profound purpose. This stone was engineered to catch the sun in a very specific conversation. As the sun traveled through the sky, the Intihuatana's carved surfaces cast shadows that were not random. They were deliberate, moving lines that slid along the stone itself, pointing to carefully carved notches and alignments. On the solstices, these shadow plays reached their climax, but it was the winter solstice that held the greatest power and the deepest fear. Imagine the shortest, coldest day of the year in the high mountains. The sun hangs low and weak in the sky, and the world holds its breath, wondering if the warmth will ever truly return. On this day, during a sacred ceremony, a miracle of alignment would occur. The sun would position itself directly above the central pillar of the Intihuatana. In that perfect, silent moment, the stone would cast no shadow at all. It was as if the sun had stopped in its tracks, captured and tethered to the earth. The Incas believed they were literally hitching the sun to this post, preventing their life-giving god from continuing its frightening retreat. They were not just observing the sun's cycle, they were actively participating in it, using the power of ritual and precision engineering to ensure the sun's return and the continuation of all life. The Intihuatana was the spiritual anchor of their empire, a tool of statecraft that blended astronomy, architecture, and a deep, abiding faith that humanity had a role to play in keeping the cosmos in motion. This same desire to capture the sun in stone appeared in the high desert of North America. Perched atop a towering mesa known as Fajada Butte, the ancestral pueblones of Chaco Canyon engineered a celestial event of breathtaking elegance. They called upon 3 massive, tilted stone slabs that leaned against the cliff face. These were not merely rocks, they were the architects of a phenomenon. Behind them, a master artist had carved a double spiral into the rock, a symbol of life cycles and cosmic order. For most of the year, this petroglyph lay in quiet shadow. But on the longest day of the year, the summer solstice, a silent performance began. As the sun climbed to its zenith, a sliver of light would slip between the giant slabs. This was no soft, diffuse glow. It was a sharp, brilliant dagger of light that pierced the shadow and descended with perfect, deliberate motion. It did not just fall near the spiral, it struck it with unerring accuracy, bisecting the very center of the largest coil. It was a moment of absolute precision, a blade of pure light splitting a stone symbol in two. When winter came and the sun hung low in the sky, the performance changed. On the solstice, 2 distinct daggers of light would appear, framing the spiral perfectly on its left and right sides, as if holding the ancient symbol in a celestial embrace. But the genius of this device did not end with the solstices. On the equinoxes, when day and night are of equal length, a single dagger of light would appear to the right of the center spiral, a clear, public announcement of the sun's balance. This was not a calendar hidden for priests alone. It was a communal clock, its message visible to anyone in the canyon who knew to look up. The sun dagger transformed a natural rock formation into a sacred instrument, blending art, astronomy, and ceremony into a single, silent event. Its discovery forced us to completely rethink the astronomical capabilities of prehistoric North America, revealing a culture that did not just watch the sky, but wrote its most important dates in light upon the land. Far to the north, in the forests of what is now Germany, an artifact was found that rewrote our understanding of Bronze Age mines. The Nebra Sky Disk is not a monument of stone, but a portable cosmos cast in bronze and gold. Unearthed by treasure hunters, this ancient disk is one of the oldest concrete maps of the heavens ever discovered. Its blue-green surface is studded with golden symbols: a crescent moon, a full circle sun, or perhaps a full moon, and a cluster of stars that scholars recognize as the Pleiades. This was not merely a decorative object or a religious icon. It was a sophisticated astronomical calculator, a handheld manual for reading the sky. The key to its function lies in a specific arc added to its edge, representing the range of the sun's travel between the solstice points on the horizon. By holding the disk aloft and aligning its golden symbols with the actual sun, moon, and stars in the sky, a knowledgeable user could solve a critical problem. The lunar year and the solar year are out of sync by about 11 days. This discrepancy, if left uncorrected, would slowly push the seasons out of alignment with the calendar, causing farmers to plant at the wrong time and festivals to be held on the wrong days. The Nebra Sky Disk provided the solution. The appearance of the Pleiades cluster next to the crescent moon, a celestial event that occurs in a specific pattern, would have been the signal to insert an extra lunar month, a leap month, bringing the two cycles back into harmony. This single object implies a deep, widespread understanding of a 19-year metonic cycle, where the sun and moon return to the same relative positions, a concept once thought to have originated with the Greeks centuries later. Here was a system not of fixed shadows but of symbolic representation. It bridged the gap between simply watching the sky and creating a portable, durable model of its laws. The disk tells us that the knowledge of cosmic time was not confined to priestly elites in sun-baked lands. It was carried, understood, and used by people across Central Europe, a shared secret of the heavens written not in stone but in metal and gold. This silent geometry of angles and altitude became the universal key to unlocking the seasons. Ancient observers grasped a fundamental truth that the sun does not follow the same high path across the sky every single day. Instead, it travels on a celestial highway that rises higher in the summer and sinks lower in the winter. This daily height of the sun, its altitude, is what they learn to read in the language of shadows. Think of a tall tree on a clear day. At noon in the middle of summer, the sun is almost directly overhead, and the tree casts a small, compact pool of shade at its base. But at noon on that same day in the middle of winter, the sun hangs low in the southern sky, and the very same tree will cast a long, thin finger of shadow that stretches far across the ground. The tree has not changed. The only thing that has changed is the sun's position in its annual cycle. By carefully measuring the length of a shadow cast by a fixed, upright object like a gnomon, these early scientists were indirectly measuring the sun's celestial latitude, a value astronomers call declination. The shortest possible shadow of the year marked the summer solstice when the sun reached its highest point. The longest shadow of the year signaled the winter solstice, its lowest point. And the days when the shadow reached a perfectly balanced midpoint between these two extremes, those were the equinoxes, the moments of perfect equilibrium between the power of day and night. This was the moment observation became true science. They were no longer just watching the sky, they were quantifying it. They transformed the abstract journey of a god into a series of measurable angles and predictable lengths, a mathematical dance written in light and dark upon the earth. The sun's journey was not just measured, it was mourned and celebrated in stone. In the green hills of Ireland, a monument older than the pyramids holds a secret meant for just one sunrise a year. This is Newgrange, a massive, circular passage tomb built over 5,000 years ago. Its white quartz facade gleams, but the true mystery lies above its entrance, in a feature archaeologists call the roof box. This is not a doorway for people. It is a narrow, perfectly engineered slit, a window built for a single divine visitor. For the rest of the year, the long, dark passage leading to the central chamber remains in deep shadow, a silent house for the remains of the ancient dead. But on the morning of the winter solstice, something miraculous happens. As the sun crests the distant horizon on the shortest, darkest day of the year, a brilliant, narrow beam of light spears through the roof box. This sliver of gold does not simply light the entrance. It travels with deliberate speed down the 60-foot passageway, a corridor so long and dark it feels like a journey into the earth itself. For a precious 17 minutes, the beam pushes deeper and deeper until it finally reaches the central chamber, flooding the sacred burial space with a warm, radiant light. This was not a clock for dividing the hours of the day. This was a dramatic, spiritual declaration. At the very moment when the sun seemed at its weakest, when the world was gripped by cold and darkness, these ancient builders engineered a spectacle of rebirth. They captured the dying sun and brought it back to life within the womb of the earth, within a chamber dedicated to their ancestors. The light touching the bones of the dead was a powerful symbol of cyclical renewal, a promise that just as the sun returns, so too does life in some form. The incredible precision required to align the roof box, a feat of engineering that had to account for the horizon, the sun's low angle, and the length of the passage, speaks of a civilization that saw no separation between the cosmos, the earth, and the spirit. For them, timekeeping was not a practical chore. It was a sacred contract with the universe, a way to participate directly in the eternal drama of death and resurrection. But even the most precise solar calendar faced a hidden, wobbling complication. If you were to take a photograph of the sun from the same location at the same clock time every single day for an entire year, and then overlay all the images, you would not see the sun tracing a neat, straight line. Instead, it would create a lopsided figure 8, a pattern in the sky known as the Analemma. This elegant shape is the ghost in the machine of ancient timekeeping, a direct result of two unavoidable facts. Our planet's orbit around the sun is not a perfect circle, but a slight ellipse, and the Earth's axis is permanently tilted. Together, these two factors mean the sun does not move at a constant speed against the background of the stars. Some days it appears to race ahead, and other days it seems to lag behind. This creates a discrepancy between the time told by a perfect sundial, which tracks the sun's actual, slightly irregular position, and the steady, unvarying tick of our modern clocks. This difference is called the equation of time. It means that a sundial can be up to 16 minutes fast or slow compared to your wristwatch, a variance that accumulates and corrects itself over the annual cycle. While ancient astronomers lacked the precise instruments to graph the Analemma's perfect form, there is compelling evidence that they perceived its effects. The meticulous Babylonian astronomers who kept centuries of planetary records on clay tablets noted that the sun's journey was not uniform. They understood that the 4 seasons were not exactly equal in length, a direct consequence of the Earth's elliptical orbit. To harmonize their lunar months with the solar year, they had to account for this uneven pace. This was the ultimate challenge in their quest for a perfect calendar. Correcting for this subtle solar drift required a deep, generational understanding of celestial mechanics. It was the final, sophisticated frontier of pure solar observation, proving that their grasp of the cosmos extended far beyond simply marking where a shadow fell. While European minds were charting the sun's path with stone and metal, a completely different kind of map was being written across the vast continent of Australia. For the Aboriginal peoples, time was not a separate force to be measured and contained. It was woven directly into the very fabric of the land, recorded in an epic, living library known as the Songlines. These are not mere footpaths, but intricate navigational routes that cross thousands of miles, each one a map told through song, story, and dance. They describe the epic journeys of ancestral beings who, in the dreamtime, sang the world into existence, leaving their essence in every rock, waterhole, and tree. And many of these sacred pathways are precisely aligned with the sun's own journey across the sky. Within this system, the sun and its shadows were not the focus of observation. but trusted partners in a daily dialogue. The changing length and direction of a shadow was a vital line in the song. A long morning shadow pointing toward a distinctive, weathered rock might be the line in a verse that says, "Turn here." The short, midday shadow of a solitary tree falling directly upon a quartz outcrop could signal a sacred site, a place to stop and perform a specific ceremony. This was a fluid, living form of timekeeping. A particular shadow falling on a specific rock formation at a certain time of year did not just mark an abstract date on a calendar. It was a direct environmental command. It signaled that the yams were ready to be dug, that the mullet were running in the rivers, or that the emus were laying their eggs. The calendar was the land itself, and the clock was the sun's interaction with it. This represents perhaps the most holistic understanding of time ever developed. Time, place, law, ecology, and spirituality were inseparable. You did not need a carved stone to tell you the solstice was coming. You knew because the song you sang for that part of the country described the exact angle of the light and the specific shadow that would appear, guiding you to the next place and the next responsibility. It was a science of connection where knowing the time meant knowing your relationship to everything around you. This sacred knowledge of light and shadow did not belong to everyone. In the echoing courtyards of temples and the silent spaces between standing stones, a specialized class of individuals emerged as the sole keepers of this cosmic language. They were the astronomer priests, the intellectual elite of the ancient world. Their entire lives were dedicated to a single, monumental task: watching the sky. Generation after generation, they maintained unbroken records, noting the subtle drift of a star or the slight variation in a solstice shadow that might take a human lifetime to become apparent. This was not a hobby, it was a sacred scientific duty. Their power came from a profound and practical source: the ability to predict. By decoding the patterns written in the heavens, they could tell a king the most auspicious day to launch a military campaign. They could inform a nervous population exactly when the life-giving rains would return or when the river would flood its banks. They held the secret to the agricultural heartbeat of their entire society, knowing precisely when to plant and when to harvest. This control over the calendar was the ultimate tool of social order. When a priest declared a holy day based on a shadow's length or a solstice sunrise, the entire community moved in unison. Their pronouncements carried the weight of divine law because they seemed to be in direct communication with the gods themselves. The ability to read a shadow was not a simple skill, it was esoteric, guarded knowledge. It set them apart as the essential bridge between the earthly realm of humanity and the celestial domain of the gods. They were the original scientists, and their patient, meticulous work, born from watching the silent dance of light and stone, laid the entire foundation for the science of astronomy we know today. Yet the sun was only one actor in a much larger cosmic drama. While their obelisks faithfully tracked the solar day, the Egyptians were also master astronomers of the night, mapping the stars with a precision that still amazes us today. A breathtaking example of this survives on the ceiling of the Temple of Hathor at Dendera. Carved into the stone is a sprawling circular map known as the Dendera Zodiac, a complex chart of constellations that includes all the familiar figures of the zodiac we recognize, alongside ancient Egyptian celestial gods and symbols. This was far more than a decorative star chart. It is a frozen snapshot of the night sky from over 2,000 years ago, and it holds a profound secret. The positions of the constellations on this disk suggest the Egyptians had grasped a concept so slow and vast it is almost imperceptible to a single human lifetime: the precession of the equinoxes. This is the gradual wobble of Earth's axis, like a spinning top slowly winding down, which causes our planet's pole to trace a circle in the sky over a cycle of nearly 26,000 years. This wobble slowly shifts the backdrop of the stars against which the sun rises at the equinox. The Dendera zodiac appears to encode this slow drift, a testament to generations of meticulous stellar observation. This deep stellar knowledge was not kept in an ivory tower. It was fused with their solar timekeeping to create a fail-safe, multi-layered calendar. The most critical example of this synergy was the star Sirius. For most of the year, Sirius was invisible, lost in the glare of the sun. Then, one morning just before dawn, it would suddenly reappear on the eastern horizon, moments before the sun rose. This event, called the heliacal rising of Sirius, was a moment of national importance. It always, without fail, coincided with the beginning of the Nile's annual flood, the event that would deposit rich, new silt across the farmlands and guarantee another year of plenty for the kingdom. By watching for this single star's return and cross-referencing it with the solstice shadows cast by their obelisks, the Egyptian priests could predict the flood with absolute certainty. Their calendar became a symphony of celestial events, where the steady rhythm of the sun's shadow was harmonized with the precise, timely note of a star's rising. This was not a reliance on one method, but a brilliant, redundant system that linked the Earth, the Sun, and the distant stars into a single, unbreakable chain of time. This grand convergence of knowledge did not happen by chance. It traveled along the dusty arteries of the Silk Road, where silk, spices, and gems changed hands. A far more precious cargo was also being traded: ideas. The silent language of the gnomon and the secrets of the solstice shadow were passed from merchant to scholar, from caravan stop to royal court, in a great, unplanned collaboration. The simple principle of a stick casting a shadow was discovered and rediscovered across the world, but its refinement into a precise scientific instrument was fueled by this cross-cultural dialogue. We know, for instance, that the Greek philosopher Anaximander is credited with introducing the formal gnomon to Greece after his travels in Babylon. He did not invent the concept, he imported it, bringing Mesopotamian centuries of shadow watching to a new audience of thinkers. This was not a one-way street. Greek geometrical theories about angles and arcs likely traveled eastward, influencing how other cultures designed their sundials. Indian astronomical tables, renowned for their complexity, found their way to the Middle East, and Chinese calendar systems, perfected over millennia of court record-keeping, became a topic of fascination and study. A discovery made in one civilization, perhaps a more accurate way to account for the sun's changing speed, could be adopted and improved upon by another, thousands of miles away. This was the true birth of global science, the universal human need to pin down the seasons, to predict the rains, and to mark the holy days created a shared project that transcended language and empire. It was a silent, collective effort, a network of minds slowly piecing together the puzzle of time, with each culture holding a different piece of the solution. Across the sun-drenched island of Malta, another temple holds a secret locked in stone for over 5,000 years. The Mnajdra complex is a labyrinth of limestone, a prehistoric sanctuary where the walls themselves seem to breathe with the rhythm of the seasons. Its most astonishing feature is the lower temple, a chamber built with such incredible foresight that it functions as a perfect solar calendar. The main doorway is not a random opening. It is a precision-engineered portal, a keyhole for the equinox sun. On the 2 days of the year when day and night stand in perfect balance, a breathtaking event unfolds. As the sun crests the horizon over the Mediterranean, its first golden rays shoot through this doorway like an arrow. The beam travels across the dark, enclosed space, and with unerring accuracy, it strikes a specific, waiting stone slab deep within the temple's heart. It is a moment of absolute alignment, a declaration of cosmic order carved into the very architecture. But the builders did not stop with the equinoxes. They also encoded the solstices into the temple's design. During the summer solstice, the rising sun's light does not enter the doorway directly. Instead, it paints the outer edge of the massive megalith to the left of the entrance. In the depths of winter on the solstice, the light similarly highlights the right-hand edge of the doorway stone frame. This creates a clear three-part calendar. The central beam for the equinoxes and the flanking light for the solstices, marking the extreme turning points of the sun's annual journey. The sheer scale of this achievement is humbling. These builders worked with multi-ton blocks of limestone, shaping and positioning them without metal tools, without written language, and without the mathematical frameworks we take for granted. Their precision was not measured in millimeters, but in the perfect, repeatable behavior of sunlight. This was not a society that merely acknowledged the sun. They built a conversation with it. The temple's alignment was likely the heartbeat of their community, dictating the timing of planting and harvest, and framing their most sacred rituals within the undeniable logic of the cosmos. We can only stand in awe of their silent stone clock, a testament to a lost civilization whose understanding of the sky was so deep, they wove it directly into their place of worship. But even the most perfectly aligned stone could not command the clouds. For all their genius, the great solar calendars of the ancient world shared a single, profound weakness. They fell silent the moment the sun disappeared. A sudden storm over Stonehenge would blot out the solstice sunrise. A week of rain in Mesopotamia rendered the sacred gnomon useless. The entire system, built on light and shadow, was helpless against the simple reality of night and bad weather. And there was another, more subtle problem. The hours these sundials measured were not the uniform 60-minute units we know today. They were temporal hours, meaning that the span of daylight was always divided into 12 equal parts. In the long, sun-drenched days of summer, each of these hours was a lengthy stretch. In the short, dim days of winter, each hour was a brief window. A summer hour could be almost twice as long as a winter hour. This was a deeply inconvenient truth for societies trying to coordinate complex activities, from closing city gates to holding court sessions. They needed a constant, reliable flow of time, one that ticked on steadily regardless of the season or the weather. This pressing need sparked a revolution in timekeeping, a move away from the sky and into the realm of human invention. In Egypt and Mesopotamia, the answer was found not in light but in water. They developed the clepsydra, or water clock. Imagine a large, ornate vessel with a small, precise hole drilled near its base. It would be filled to the brim with water, and as the liquid steadily dripped out, the falling water level against marked lines on the inside of the vessel would indicate the passage of time. Here was a clock that worked through the darkest night and the stormiest day. In China, ingenious minds harnessed fire. They created candle clocks where evenly spaced marks along a candle would burn down at a predictable rate. In Japan, this concept was refined into the exquisite incense clock. Different scented incense powders would be laid out in long, meandering trails on a tray. As the glowing tip of incense slowly burned along its path, not only did it mark the hours, but the changing fragrance would also signal the shift to a new period of the day. This was the crucial turning point. The journey to conquer time was no longer about observing the cosmos. It was about building a miniature, predictable universe here on Earth. The evolution from a shadow cast by a pyramid to the steady drip of a water clock represents one of humanity's greatest intellectual leaps. a relentless drive to break free from nature's constraints and create a rhythm all our own. The landscape of Carnac is a forest of stone planted by giants. Across the rolling hills of Brittany in France, thousands of standing stones march in eerie, parallel rows for kilometers, a silent army frozen in time. This is the Carnac alignments, and its sheer, overwhelming scale defies simple explanation. While some sea tombs or territorial markers, one theory paints a breathtaking picture. This was not a temple, but a calendar vast enough to be read by an entire civilization. Picture the sun rising over this stone forest on the summer solstice. From a specific vantage point, certain key menhirs would have aligned perfectly with the horizon, their long, dark shadows falling into precise, predetermined pathways between the rows. The entire field of stones became a gigantic gnomon, its collective shadows tracing the sun's extreme northern turn. On the winter solstice, the low sun would have cast a completely different pattern, the shadows stretching long and thin in the opposite direction, marking the year's deepest point. Walking among these rows when the sun was low would have been like moving through a living clock, with dark lines shifting around you to signal the changing seasons. The coordination required to build this was staggering, implying it served as a regional timekeeping standard. Different communities, perhaps separated by miles of forest and field, could all synchronize their rituals and harvests to the same celestial events marked by this central, monumental clock. Carnac represents timekeeping as a communal act, written not on a single stone, but across the entire face of the land itself. The silent language of shadows did more than just mark the hours, it carved its way directly into the words we speak today. Our modern vocabulary of time is a living museum of these ancient technologies. Consider the very word clock. It traces back to the Latin clocca, meaning bell, a nod to the towers that later housed mechanical timepieces. But the core concepts, the very idea of an hour, a dial, and a moving hand, are all direct inheritances from the sundial. When you say noon, you are invoking the Latin nona hora, the 9th hour after sunrise. This was not a vague period, it was a precise solar event, that definitive moment when the gnomon's shadow reached its absolute shortest length for the day. The entire world paused for that singular point in time. Even the seemingly unrelated action of dialing a phone number is a linguistic ghost. Your finger moves in a circle, tracing the path first laid out by the numbered face of a sundial. This connection runs even deeper into the very geometry we use to measure the world. Why is a circle divided into 360 degrees? The answer lies with the Babylonian astronomers and their sophisticated base 60 number system. They saw cosmic perfection in this number, using it to chart the heavens and track time, dividing the circle into 6 times 60. This system was so effective and influential that it was adopted by the Greeks and eventually passed down to us, shaping not just our clocks but our maps and our mathematics. Every time you glance at a watch face or casually mention the time, you are speaking in a code created by prehistoric priests and Stone Age scientists. These are not just words, they are linguistic fossils, permanent echoes of a time when humanity first learned to read the story of its own existence in the shifting patterns of light and dark. Far from any stone circle or temple, the ultimate test of natural timekeeping unfolded on the open ocean. The Polynesian navigators who settled the vast Pacific achieved a feat of wayfinding that seems almost supernatural. They could sail for weeks across thousands of miles of empty sea and arrive at a tiny, remote island with pinpoint accuracy. Their secret was not a single instrument, but a complete, integrated understanding of the world as a living, rhythmic system. They built star compasses not from stone but from memory, mentally mapping the precise rising and setting points of hundreds of stars on the horizon. Each star was a fixed point in a great, invisible dome that rotated through the night. By knowing which star would rise from which part of the sea, they could hold a course as reliably as a modern pilot using a GPS. But the stars were only one part of their celestial clock. When the sun ruled the sky, its position and the shadows it cast upon their voyaging canoes gave them their daily bearings. A shadow stretching a certain way across the outrigger confirmed their direction of travel, yet their genius lay in combining the sky with the sea itself. They learned to read the ocean swells, the deep, rolling waves generated by distant weather systems. These swells created reliable patterns that acted as constant directional guides, even on cloudy nights when the stars were hidden. They watched the flight paths of birds, knowing that certain species flew out to sea to fish at dawn and returned to land at dusk. A lone bird on a specific course could mean an island was just over the horizon. This was timekeeping as an active, dynamic art. It was not about marking a date on a calendar, but about staying perfectly synchronized with the rhythms of nature during a journey that could last for generations. Their canoe was not just a vessel, it was a moving observatory, its captain a living clock, compass, and calendar all in one. This profound connection to the environment represents a different pinnacle of ancient science, one built on fluid observation rather than fixed stone, proving that to conquer time and space, you first had to learn to listen to the world. This relentless gathering of data slowly rewired the human mind. For generations, the changing seasons and the sun's wandering path were seen as the direct actions of temperamental gods, to be appeased with prayer and sacrifice. But when you measure the same shadow at the same time every single day, a profound truth begins to emerge from the noise. The numbers do not lie. The sun's journey is not a matter of divine whim. It is a breathtakingly precise mathematical machine. The shift was monumental. A priest who once interpreted a long winter shadow as a sign of a god's anger could now predict its exact length a year in advance. He was no longer just a messenger of the gods, he was a reader of cosmic code. This was the scientific method in its most ancient, powerful form. Observation came first, the patient, daily recording of a shadow's length. Then came the search for patterns, the realization that these lengths repeated in a dependable cycle. This allowed for a hypothesis, a testable prediction. If the sun reached its lowest point today, it will do so again in 365 days. And finally, the test itself. They would wait, they would watch, and they would measure again. When the shadow confirmed their prediction, the hypothesis was proven. This cycle of observation, pattern recognition, and prediction is the very engine of modern science, and it was forged in the patient study of a stick's shadow on the ground. This empirical approach did not just create better calendars, it birthed entirely new fields of knowledge. Geometry grew from the need to calculate angles and track the sun's declination. Accurate astronomy was an absolute necessity for predicting solstices and equinoxes. The entire endeavor forced a new way of thinking, one based on evidence and repeatable results rather than superstition and fear. The human quest to pin down time, to read the story in the shadows, ultimately taught us how to think, setting in motion a chain of discovery that would lead, millennia later, to the world we know today. The sea holds its secrets close, but in 1901, a shipwreck off the coast of a Greek island yielded a mystery that would rewrite history. Spongedivers, seeking a different treasure, found a lump of corroded bronze and wood, its form so encrusted it seemed little more than junk. Decades would pass before X-ray technology revealed the shocking truth hidden within that calcified shell. This was the Antikythera mechanism, a device of such staggering complexity it feels utterly out of place in the ancient world. Dated to the 2nd century before the Common Era, It was a compact universe of interlocking bronze gears, a celestial engine housed in a wooden case. With a simple turn of a hand crank on its side, its dials would whir into motion, their pointers tracing the wandering paths of the planets, the phases of the moon, and the precise timing of solar and lunar eclipses. It even included a dial to track the 4-year cycle of the Olympic Games. This was not a tool for casting shadows, but something far more revolutionary. It was a model of the cosmos itself, a portable, mechanical incarnation of the very cycles that civilizations had spent millennia observing in stone and sky. The genius of the mechanism lies in its gears. Its creators engineered a complex system of toothed wheels, including a remarkable differential gear, which is a component not seen again until the 19th century. These gears were not arbitrary. Their ratios were precise mathematical translations of celestial relationships. One gear, for instance, represented the moon's slightly irregular orbit, accounting for the subtle speeding up and slowing down in its path across the sky. Another gear system perfectly modeled the 19-year Metonic cycle, the same period the Nebra Sky Disk helped track, where the sun and moon returned to the same relative positions. This bronze computer was the ultimate proof that Greek science did not emerge from a vacuum. It was the direct, brilliant heir to the Babylonian astronomers and their centuries of planetary records, to the Egyptian priests and their star clocks. The mechanism internalized all that hard-won knowledge, gathered from watching obelisks and gnomon shadows, and transformed it into a ticking, turning machine. It represents a quantum leap in human thought, the moment we stopped just building monuments to observe the cosmos and began building machines to simulate it. The Antikythera mechanism is a silent witness to a lost age of technology, a breathtaking reminder that the ancient quest to understand time was far more advanced than we ever dreamed. The silent stones finally have a translator. A new scientific field called Archaeoastronomy has emerged, dedicated to reading the celestial language carved into ancient monuments. This is not about speculation, but about using the precise tools of modern science to crack a prehistoric code. Researchers now arrive at sites like Stonehenge or the Mayan city of Chichen Itza, armed with GPS for pinpoint location data, high-resolution 3D modeling to map every angle, and sophisticated software that can rewind the sky. With these digital tools, they can peel away thousands of years of precession, the slow wobble in Earth's axis, to see the exact starscape that the builders saw. They can simulate the sunrise on any given day, testing whether a specific doorway truly captures the solstice sun as the legends suggest. This rigorous process has transformed mysterious ruins into understood technology. What was once dismissed as primitive ritual is now recognized as advanced engineering. Computer models have confirmed, beyond any doubt, that countless temples, tombs, and standing stones were engineered with one primary purpose: to lock onto the sun, moon, and stars with the accuracy of a laser sight. This scientific validation gives a voice back to the stones, allowing us to recover a lost world view where the cosmos was not a distant void, but a living, breathing text, its stories written in light and waiting to be read. Each new alignment confirmed is another sentence decoded from a global, ancient manuscript, reminding us that our ancestors were not just building for the earth, but for the heavens. The sprawling, baked brick cities of the Indus Valley hold a silence more profound than any tomb. Their written language remains a locked box, its secrets stubbornly kept. Yet their streets speak a different kind of order, one that points not to kings or conquests, but perhaps to the sky. In the meticulously planned metropolises of Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, the evidence for timekeeping is not found in a single dramatic stone, but in the entire urban fabric. The main streets of these ancient cities were laid out on an almost perfect north-south, east-west grid. This was not a random act of city planning. Achieving such precise cardinal alignment on such a massive scale required a deep, working knowledge of solar observation. It means that someone, long before the first brick was laid, was carefully watching the sun's path, marking its rising and setting points to find true north and south. This suggests a society where cosmic order was the foundation of civic order. The great elevated citadels that dominated these cities may have served a dual purpose. Beyond their probable administrative and defensive roles, their high platforms would have provided an unobstructed view of the horizon, an ideal stage for priest astronomers to track the solstices and equinoxes. Without a single carved glyph to confirm it, the case remains circumstantial, but the sheer, unwavering regularity of their construction, the standardized brick sizes, the uniform widths of the lanes all point to a culture obsessed with measurement and rhythm. Their calendar was likely woven into the layout of their world, a hidden code where the turning of the seasons was marked by the way the sun lit a particular crossroads or climbed over a specific building at a certain time of year. The Indus Valley civilization may have built its greatest clock out of the city itself, a masterpiece of urban astronomy whose silent, geometric language we are only beginning to learn. From the solitary gnomon in Mesopotamia to the sprawling stone circles of Europe, we see a shared human obsession. This was a universal and ingenious drive to pin down the chaotic river of time, to give it a name and a number. When Shadows Told Stories is not merely a poetic title, it was the daily reality for these cultures, a reality that fundamentally shaped the very pillars of civilization. The entire agricultural cycle, the lifeblood of any society, was dictated by the silent announcements of a solstice shadow or an equinox beam. Religious beliefs were forged in this dialogue with the heavens, turning priestly observers into interpreters of divine will. Governance and social order relied on the calendar's authority, synchronizing the work and worship of thousands. And from this careful watching, science itself was born as the human mind learned to predict, to test, and to understand. These hidden timekeepers prove our ancestors were far from primitive. They were master astronomers and engineers who built a sophisticated understanding of their universe using the most fundamental tools imaginable: light, shadow, and stone. Their legacy is not confined to museums. It is the very concept of measured time we live by today, a continuous, unbroken thread that connects the glow of your smartphone screen directly back to the first human who planted a stick in the earth and saw a story waiting to be read in its dark, shifting line. These silent stones and long-vanished stargazers have left us with an incredible legacy, a testament to the human need to find our place in the great cosmic clockwork. But the story of hidden timekeepers is far from over. If these ancient methods for reading the sun captured your imagination, just think of the countless other puzzles from our past that remain unsolved, waiting for a curious mind to piece them together. We would love to hear which civilization's approach resonated most with you. Was it the sheer ambition of the Incas hitching post of the sun, or the quiet, patient genius of the Chinese court astronomers? Share your favorite in the comments below and join the conversation. If you enjoyed this journey into the shadows, please show your support by liking this video. Subscribing to the channel fuels our explorations, bringing you more deep dives into the world's greatest historical mysteries. And for those who do not want to miss a single story, be sure to tap the notification bell. The next revelation from the shadows of time is always just one sunrise away.